I can't believe another year's gone around. Is that a big top I see there high above the ground? Ballyhoo, oh, ballyhoo.
Howdy, folks. Welcome to Tiny Tent Show. In these times when we can't all gather up as we might wish, and certainly right now can't gather up underneath the canvas of the Lake Superior Big Top Chautauqua, we thought it would be nice to visit some of the performers who fill that tent with music and joy and performance of all kinds in the places they are right now. And so over the next little bit here, we'll check in with a few of our performers. We do want to say that we're blessed to say that tonight's show is sponsored. It is sponsored by Jim and Joy Perry. And then it is also sponsored by the Brownstone Pharmacy right there in downtown Washburn, Wisconsin. And man, what I wouldn't give to roll up to Washburn right now and stand there on Main Street and look out over the crystal blue waters of Lake Superior, and maybe head up to Bayfield and do the same, and then wind up on top of the big hill there in the tent listening to some good music. But in time. We would also point out that if you want to support the tent, there are links in the comments section. And also the best place to go is www.bigtop.org. That's where all the information is consolidated about the tent, the shows, the tent show radio, everything you'd want to know. It's right there at bigtop.org. So, I also wanted to say that I knew I would be able to get into the show tonight, even though I'm just sitting in front of a curtain here, kind of trying to pretend that's a tent. But I have my Big Top pass. It's laminated and everything, admit to. Ignore the fact that it's for 2017. I think they're going to let me in anyway if I act properly. Alrighty, let's cut right now to some music. You know, our first guest is a multi-generational representative of the pearl, gray, and blue canvas of the Big Top. Many of you know T. Bruce Bowers passed from this world just recently. And the first performer tonight is Bruce's daughter, Yazmin Bowers. And we're just so grateful to her that, especially in this time, she has agreed to present some music for us. Welcome, Yazmin Bowers.
Hey everybody, Yazmine Bowers here. I'm grateful to be a part of this group of BCO musicians representing in this crazy time and reaching out across this divide to play some music for you. As many of you know, my dad, T. Bruce Bowers, passed away a couple weeks ago, and so to be honest, I really haven't felt like playing music much at all since his passing. But I got the call to do this, and I just felt like I wanted to reach out and connect with listeners and the other BCO members in this way, since we can't give each other hugs right now. So I'm going to do a song that I wrote with my friend Jody. My piano's right here. You can't see it, but it's here. And this song I wrote with my friend Jody. It's about a failing marriage, but I promise it is an uplifting song. It's also about just trying something different when things are difficult, when you're feeling down. And I feel like that's what we have to do a lot of right now, is just try to follow the breadcrumbs of joy. And that's what this song is about. It's called Take Off Your Clothes. I promise it is not an inappropriate song. It just sounds like it from the title. Valentine's Day turned to Valentine's night. I know the things I say just don't sound right. Cologne in a bottle and loving all day still doesn't take
that sting away. Take off your clothes and run around the yard in the dark with me. I know you're feeling blue, but honey, I'm still right here with you. All I ever wanted was to be close to you, and so I buried my truth. Oh, sweet honey, what can I say? In the end, that only pushed you away. Take off your clothes and run around the yard in the dark with me. I know you're feeling blue, but honey, I'm still right here with you. Take off your clothes and run around the yard in the dark with me. I know you're feeling blue, but honey, I take off your clothes and run around the yard in the dark with me. I know you're feeling blue, but honey, I'm still right here with you. And honey, I'm still right here with you.
Yazmine Bowers, everybody. Thank you, Yasmine. It's doubly meaningful when an artist opens their heart in a time like Yasmine is facing right now. So we thank her for that music. We're gonna switch gears now and take in a tune. It's a tune written by John Prine, but performed by our very own Philip Anich. And Phil's the guy, man. If you get to a tent show a little early and you see someone running around like their hair's on fire trying to get everything together, and then still managing often to make it to the stage when the curtain goes up and be one of the performers, that's Phil. So here he is in a slightly more relaxed mode than I'm used to seeing him. Philip Anich.
Howdy, folks. Here's a song by John Prine. Obviously, we're thinking about him, and maybe this song means more than it even used to. She was a level-headed dancer on the road to alcohol, and I was just a soldier on the way to Montreal. When she pressed her chest against me, about the time the jukebox broke, she gave me a peck on the back of my neck. Hear the words she spoke. You blow up your TV, throw away your papers, move to the country, build your home, plant a little garden, eat a lot of peaches, try to find Jesus on your own. Well, I sat there at the table and move to the country, build a new home, plant a little garden, eat a lot of peaches, try to find Jesus on your own. Well, I was young and hungry and about to leave that place, when just as I was leaving, well, she looked me in the face. She said, you must know the answer. I said, no, I'll give it a try. So to this very day we've been living our way. Here are the reasons why. We blew up our TVs, threw away our papers, we moved to the country, we built us a home, had a lot of children, and fed them on peaches. They all found Jesus on their own.
Thanks, Phil. It was good to see you there, Phil, just sitting still and just pulling on a guitar, not running every which way trying to keep things together. Well, folks, this is the part of the show where I would normally read a little essay, a little monologue. Tonight I'm going to wing it, and I'm not sure how that's going to go, but I wanted to tell a little story about John Prine. It's always tricky when someone like John Prine leaves this world, because you feel like you're putting some sort of undue claim on that person, that artist, yes, but he was also obviously a husband, father, and I don't in any way want to appear that I'm claiming him or co-opting someone else's hard-earned grief. But I just hope I can honor him a little bit with this story. And the deal is, John Prine is one of my top 5 literary influences. So as a writer, he was one of the people who helped me come to see that, well, maybe a working class person, maybe a person more comfortable in blue jeans than corduroy smoking jackets or whatever it is I thought writers wore when they were growing up, could be a poet. And I was introduced to John Prine in the basement of a friend's house one time. We were playing darts, and he had a beat-up old boombox hanging from the rafters, and he put in a beat-up cassette tape, and he hit play, and that was the first time I ever heard John Prine. And, of course, once I heard a couple songs, I wanted to hear them all. So time passes. He's a huge influence on me, which certainly doesn't make me unique. He's influenced so many people. And then this project comes up. I was part of a music festival with a guy named Yazmin Vernon. He has a band called Bon Iver. And he has always been a great admirer of John Prine, and as a matter of fact, at one point did a tribute album to John Prine, and I got to help write the liner notes for that. And then some more time passed, and they invited John Prine to play at this music festival that I was part of. And they wanted to do a John Prine tribute live show, and so they had all these different artists sing John Prine songs, and they're all accomplished world touring musicians. But my buddy Justin said, "Hey, how about if you do a song?" And I said, "Well, that seems like a really terrifying idea," but I couldn't turn down the opportunity. And so I rehearsed twice with the band, with the professional musicians, and it went flawlessly. It was such a pleasure. And then came the show. And if I remember right, there were about 10,000 people in the audience. I don't know, give or take a few thousand. Certainly more than I was used to staring out at. And I walked up there to sing my song, and there in the wings, watching us, was John Prine. So I'm about to sing a John Prine song in front of John Prine, knowing that he's one of the 5 artists that allowed me this odd little life that I've had, this fulfillingly odd little life that I've had. And so I stepped to the microphone, and we started the song, and the first couple of verses went just great. And And then I started to get some sort of slapback or weird rhythmic echo, and I lost the plot. And I could feel the song going off the rails. And the one happy memory I have is that, thank goodness, I'm not a musician. I'm a writer who's written some songs. I know enough chords to play them. I have a great band, and so I perform music. But there's a difference between performing music and being a musician. But thankfully, I'd spent enough time around musicians that when I realized I'd gone way off the rails, if it had happened to me 5 years previous, I'd have freaked out and panicked. But because I'd worked with good musicians, I knew enough to turn and make eye contact with Justin, who was playing lead guitar. And just with eye contact, we sort of agreed that it's time to wrap it up. It's time to bring this thing in for a landing. And we did. We brought it, hit the chorus one more time and just kind of eased it on in. And I was almost physically ill. I've never been so upset or disappointed in a performance. It meant so much to me to perform this man's work in front of him. But as I left the stage, he was sitting there, and I knelt down on one knee. He was in on a folding chair. I knelt down and I just shook his hand, and I said to him, I want to thank you. You changed my life. And of course, being John Prine, he smiled and said, oh man, that's great. I don't remember exactly what he said because my head was buzzing, but I still remember his smile. And so then I went backstage, and I tell you, man, for the longest, I've never been so upset. I mean, not visibly, I'm stoic Scandinavian, I just stood there and took it. But inside, I was really upset about that. And then, of course, the thing that always happens, which is people who were in the audience started filtering in and going, oh, we loved that song. Oh, it was so moving. It was beautiful. And even that didn't help because I knew the song did not go well. I believed they thought it went well because my musician friends helped me bring it in. And I'll tell you, I've chewed that over ever since. And I've half started an essay about it, about what it's like to fail in front of the very person you want to honor. And you fail in honoring that person. And the essay's about half done, and I'm getting closer to sitting down and finishing it because finally, what I've come to realize is the beauty was in knowing what to do in that moment. And John Prine and Justin Vernon were part of teaching me that. They were teaching me, man, it's a big old goofy world, as John Prine said. And so when things go off the rail, you've still got all those good things that happen. You've still got all that beauty John Prine gave you. You've still, when I heard that John Prine had died, I of course I was sad, but I also thought, yeah, but what he did is he left his good work for us. So I don't have a nice, neat wrap up for this, man. I am freelancing here, but I just wanted to share that memory, that one of probably my most meaningful memories of John Prine is tied back to the day that I really blew it right in front of him, but it was okay. It's a big old goofy world. All right. Thanks for being with us tonight and letting me say that. So I said we were going to visit people where they were. And so for our next little segment, we are going to send you way on down the road. He'll tell you where. Please welcome Severin Behnen.
Hello. Here I am at my home in sunny California. This is my garden, the full extent of it. The rest is concrete. And I'm going to play a little quarantine blues.
So Severin's house is a bit of a drive for me in my 2002 Toyota tour van with the 2 out of 4 hubcaps. But thankfully, we've got the internets, as shaky as they are actually in this part. We have what Cheryl Leah refers to as the hinternet up here. But thankfully, we were able to cobble together a visit, and let's go see what Severin has been up to lately. How you doing? How you hunkering is what I ought to say.
Oh yeah, yeah. Basically staying at home. I've found that I haven't had to wash my hair quite as often, which is a really great thing, you know. But other than that, it's pretty horrible. But you know, we've got Zoom, so you know, that's perfect, right?
Yeah, I think we're getting together from far-flung places. I'm not really interested in hearing about your hair issues myself. I actually just shampooed, and then I'm
Oh, you
using
did? Oh, look at
yeah,
that. You can tell.
and I'm using one of those thickening conditioners. I don't know if you're seeing the effects yet, but giving it body, you know, that's the key. So
Yeah, so we're you know, going to the store as you know, as infrequently as possible,
yeah,
and you know, doing more cooking.
oh
And
yeah. I mean, our little family does quite a bit of cooking anyway, but boy, we've really ramped it up, and we're cooking together.
oh yeah,
I will
yeah,
tell you, it's a great time to have chickens in the backyard too. Yeah.
for sure.
So tell
Yeah.
folks, a lot of the folks who are tuning in here are our longtime friends and volunteers. But I always like to start, you know, I'm fairly recent to this group, and I always say I consider myself a guest of the tent and its history and its people. In a nutshell, how did Severin Behnen ever wind up at the tent?
Oh, that was through a friend of mine, Susan Dexter, and when I was living in Minneapolis, I rented from her, and she was a friend. She had a house on Madeline Island,
Oh,
and so I gave her a little cassette tape of me playing the piano, which she gave to Warren Nelson, and Warren invited me to come up, and then I came up for one day, like 25 years ago or something, and then the next year maybe for 2 days, something like that. And then I ended up staying up there for the summer for about the last 20 years or something.
Wow.
And been there from like the middle of June to middle of August, something like that.
So that's the secret, kids. Get yourself one of them cassette recorders. And I don't know how you put the cassette on the YouTube, but that's the key. One of the things that we were talking about before we pushed record here is the idea that music and performance have always been the means of bringing people together, literally, easy for you to say, literally, figuratively, metaphorically. And it's interesting now, and I'd love to have you say a few words about coming together while we're all staying apart, as the saying has it.
Well, one thing is that I don't think that we have ever talked on the off season, right?
It's true. We were talking that this is like meeting up backstage at the tent or having the conversation that you would,
Right.
yeah, that we would normally have up there in the tent.
Yeah. So, I mean, sometimes a couple of years go by, you know, when I don't see you, you know, and actually I've been talking to a few of my musician friends more than I have before this happened. And actually, we did a little composite of Tom Mitchell and Ed and and I think it'll be later on in this program. And so we've also had rare occasions to play together in the off season. So it's giving us a chance to you know, to do that and learning how to do it and finding out that it's really not so terrible.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool, you know. So I'm hoping that that we continue to do this after this crisis is over, that we're able to collaborate and to you know, to see each other and to you know, in a way that we weren't able to do, but just weren't interested in doing before, I guess. So
I think that's a lovely way of putting it. And then I think, as far as speaking to what we're doing here, that we're putting this stuff together, we're learning, it's quasi semi-live, and you're just sending it out there.
yeah.
I think a good way to wrap up our little conversation is to say, there's some music coming up next from you.
Yeah.
Well, we're not sure which song. And I think that's kind of fun. So both Severin and I will find out.
A bunch of things in, you know, so
yeah.
You know, so they can
coming up next,
way or whatever they want to do with them, you know. So
so coming up next, something by Severin. Take care of yourself. Good to see you.
All right, thanks. Good to see you. Take care.
You bet.
When things are looking really bad, just remember that every time it rains, pennies from heaven. Don't you know each cloud contains pennies from heaven? You find your fortune falling all over town. Be sure that your umbrella is upside down. Trade them for a package of sunshine and flowers. If you want the things you love, you got to have showers. So if it starts to thunder, don't run under a tree. Well, there'll be pennies from heaven for you and me.
Well, it was good to check in with Severin. And as long as the little hamster that spins our internet was still jogging along, I thought I'd check in with another tent performer folks all over the world have enjoyed, a guy named Randy Sabine. And here's my conversation with Randy, such as it was. Well, our next guest, I'd like to call him a longtime friend, but I always say whether I'm his friend or not that's partly up to him. So let's just ask him. Good to see you. It's Randy Sabine.
Yeah, we're definitely friends, but again, I don't know if it's a longtime friend. What's the definition of a longtime friend? Is it a year, 10 years?
Actually, you know what it is? It's an intermittent friend.
Ah.
Right? Because we have known each other now certainly over 2 decades, but like a lot of folks in our sort of endeavors, we tend to cross paths and sometimes, spend a night performing together, or in our case, we've even spent some time on the road together.
Yeah. I was one of your long beds.
You were a long bed, and in my band, the Long Beds, and you got to be in the tour van with me.
It was a thrill.
I don't remember how many hubcaps the tour van had back then, but we crossed pretty much. I remember we drove from wherever we started. We drove to Mineral Point, and then we drove from Mineral Point all the way over to Appleton. Yeah, Appleton, and then back up north. So we covered a pretty good triangular section of the state.
Yeah. That was our intermittent friendship. Was it for that time period? We weren't friends, but it was everything but that tour.
We're friends except for when we're working together.
Exactly.
Right
now we're getting along great.
So folks who, I don't know, I'm assuming most people who are watching this know who Randy Sabine is, but for those of you who don't, he won't tell you, but I will. He's a world-class and world-known talent as a musician, and can play right on out of the stratosphere. I write songs that sometimes they have 2 chords, sometimes they have 3 chords, and every once in a while I go nuts and throw a 4th one in there. They're all one of 2 rhythms, and so we needed a fiddle player. And even though Randy is a multi-instrumentalist, I called him and said, hey, we need a fiddle player for this little tour we're doing, and he said he'd be glad to come along. And then shortly before the tour started, he called and said, do I need to come and rehearse with you guys? I said, 3 chords. I think you'll be fine. And you were.
Well, thank you. I passed the audition.
He passed the audition, which occurred in real time during the actual show.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you ever need me again, I'm ready to go.
I hope folks know I'm having fun with this, but it truly was. So I'm a writer. I belong at a keyboard typing stuff. But I accidentally kind of veered into music, and I do some now and then, and I truly enjoy it. But I have, doing music has only increased my respect for people who do it all their lives, and it's their primary craft. And I think, I'm not just kidding when I say it was so marvelous. Randy showed up. We did a sound check. We ran through a couple of songs, and then we did our show, and it was the first time Randy had ever played with us, and without any rehearsal. And of course, afterwards, people are coming up and telling me that was amazing, and the fiddle player had these amazing solos. And I go, yeah, it's true. I'm glad you enjoyed them just like I did for the first time. But I think sometimes folks as talented as you don't realize that that's such a mystery to us, a beautiful mystery.
Well, sometimes it's a mystery to me too. So,
Well, I'm glad you do it.
See what happens.
Now, I'm supposed to be letting you talk. So far, I've failed at that. Tell me, if you could do a 60-second history of how Randy Sabine ever wound up at the big tent up there.
Yeah, sure. I was on the road with the singer Kate Wolf. And we were playing at Northland College in Ashland. And Warren Nelson was in attendance, and he came up and introduced himself at intermission and said, hey, I've got this circus tent up in Bayfield. I want you to come and play it next season. That was how I did it. And I think it was the second year of the tent that I came up and played.
That's amazing. And I just love the idea of someone going, yeah, I've got a circus tent. You go, of course you do.
This is this is my gig I've been waiting for. I've always wanted to play a circus tent. So it's a perfect match made in heaven.
Such an amazing venue. I just feel privileged every time I step inside that place. So we're putting this show together, and one of the things about putting it together is we're learning on the fly. And it's my understanding that you're going to have something in this production. Do you have any idea what it is?
I've submitted a couple of things. One is I did a parody of the old Corina song.
Nice.
Many people have done this. Bob Wills did a version. Buddy Waters has a great version. I kind of modeled my version after his. I just rewrote it. You can see how the Corina could possibly translate to a current event.
Yeah.
So I just did a little dub of me singing, playing guitar, and add some piano on that. And then I've also done a 13-minute documentary on my spring tour.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know which one they're gonna have in this show, but I guess we'll just wait and see.
We'll wait and see, like everybody else. And I sure appreciate you taking the time to join up with us here under these circumstances. And also just want to recognize your mascot there, just over your your left shoulder.
Mr. Blue.
Mr. Blue.
Mr. Blue. He's kept the house free of minnows all winter long, and he's waiting for it to just warm up a little bit to get his legs in the water. So,
Well, it's good to know. It's good to know that you're not alone, and you're keeping yourself perfectly sane, Randy.
Exactly. Mr. Blue, he's very quiet. He's shy.
I was going to say, I think I'd be more concerned if you said that he is actually answering you when you speak to him.
Well, when he's on camera, he clams up, but I'm sure as soon as the interview's over, he's going to be a fountain.
Yeah, well, we're used to cabin fever up here in the north, but this is a whole new strain of cabin fever.
Yeah.
So,
well, we can continue this part of the series.
Well, thanks for your time, Randy, and we will check in with you later, and I'll give you a call if I need a fiddle player capable of handling up to 4 chords.
Yeah, well, I'll start practicing.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Well, Randy seems to be keeping it together pretty well. He was kind enough to send in an extended video that will give you a little more insight on just how he's holding up out there. Let's go ahead and roll that now.
Hey everybody, Randy Sabine here. For the past 40 years or so, I've been traveling all over the country, Canada and Europe, playing music with my band or giving workshops for kids, a lot of workshops with string orchestras in public schools. But all of that has been erased now, as we all know, due to the viral pandemic that's going around. Well, I decided this is not a time to sit at home and wring my hands. I took the bull by the horns and I booked myself a 30-day tour. I'm a few days into it right now. And what's different about it is that I'm doing solo shows and playing smaller rooms for a little more intimate experience. I'm playing, for example, every day I'm playing a brunch, just down the corner at this little cozy little place known for home cooking. It's called The Kitchen. Morning everybody, welcome to The Kitchen. My name is Randy Sabine. I'm going to play some music for you. Hope you have a nice cup of coffee or a Bloody Mary. And today's special is blackened toast. Here's an old favorite for you to kick the morning off. Day after day, day after day, day after day after day after day after day after day. I'm also going to take this opportunity to revisit my classical roots. I started the violin in 4th grade and studied classical music for many, many years. I was in my high school orchestra, University of Illinois Symphony, and I haven't performed much classical music in the past few decades. So with all these great halls in the country, I thought I'd present a matinee each afternoon of classical music. One of my favorite halls is literally just down the hall. I like to think of it as the Carnegie Hall of Halls. Well, one thing that's very popular these days in the music world are tribute bands. And if I had in my mind an idea for a tribute, I'm going to really try it out on this tour. It's called Sonny and Cher. It's instrumental solo banjo arrangements. And I'm going to be performing this on the top level of this building in the beautiful Skylight Lounge every afternoon for nappy hour. Well, like so many of my fellow musicians in my generation, we were inspired by the Beatles. And one particular record of theirs was so exciting. It was live at the Hollywood Bowl. You could really capture their raw energy. And ever since I heard that, I wanted to record something live in a bowl. And there's a couple of bowls nearby that I'm going to do some recording sessions in during this 30-day tour. The Downstairs Bowl and the Upstairs Bowl. These performances are going to be just sort of random, you know, as the spirit moves me throughout the day. Sort of a flush mob approach, if you will. So I've done a couple of takes already, so let's go check one out right now. Came in through the bathroom door, and as my trousers hit the floor, the toilet seat was cold, magazines were 3 months old. All I could do was think of you. Yes, I'll be right out. Give me a second here. One more take and I'll have one in the can, I think. Love is like a toilet seat on a cold and wintry day. Once you come in contact with it, there's a price you pay. Once you get it warm and cozy, there you want to stay. All right, I'm done. I'll be right out. Sorry. Well, no tour would be complete without at least one outdoor show. I love playing outside. I love to see the vast expanse of crowds out there with their picnics and their blankets all spread out on the beautiful green grass, people dancing, milling about. So we're going to try to work in a couple outdoor shows, and I'll be playing a very popular spot. It's a place called the Front Porch Well, it seems like a pretty long day so far, starting with the brunch. But now the evening hour is setting in, and there's nothing more romantic and elegant than having a strolling violinist come up to you while you're eating a delicious meal. So every day at 6 p.m. I go down to this fabulous little bistro in my neighborhood. It's called La Table. And now for the culminating event of the day, the big show, the big nighttime show. Every night at 8 p.m. I'll be appearing in the Chase Lounge. This will be a time for people to get together and dance and party and just, cut loose and have the time of their lives. Meet me in the Chase Lounge. Ain't doing bad, doing nothing. I'm just laying around all day. I'm telling you, the less I do, the more things come my way. When I get up in the morning, I think about that long day ahead. I get so doggone disgusted, I crawl right back to bed. Why should I ever worry? It's such a losing game. Why should I move when I can prove that I'll get there just the same? You say get up, Randy, do something. Well, I ask, how much do it pay? Ain't doing bad, doing nothing, just laying around all day on the sofa, just laying around all day in quarantine, just laying around all day playing music. Just laying around all day, watching movies. Just laying around all day, eating pizza. Just laying around all day. Thank you, folks. Well, so far the tour's been going great. We're about halfway done, 15 days into it. Let's see. No, actually, 27. We got 27 more days to go. Oh, well, anyway, maybe with any luck, the tour will get extended and be so successful. It's a grueling schedule. Really happy to be able to do this when so many of my friends are out of work. And, well, I can't tell you how happy I'm going to be when it's all over and I can pack all my gear up in my car and get in my car and drive for thousands of miles out on the open road. But until then, be safe and be well.
Thanks, Randy. You want to maybe just head over to Randy's, just maybe peek in his window? Well, we're going to shift gears beautifully now because we're gonna visit Ed Willett. Ed Willett, just a stellar, solid member of the Blue Canvas Orchestra forever, and Ed has recorded a beautiful song in a beautiful spot. Ladies and gentlemen, Ed Willett.
Hey everybody, Ed Willett here, down the creek behind our house where I lived with Cheryl Leah for 25 years. Cheryl Leah, you probably know, is a fabulous singer-songwriter. We came here in 1994 for a brief stopover. Met Warren Nelson, joined the circus, and we never left. So, there you have it. I have no idea whether all you'll be able to hear is the creek, but it's just a beautiful spring day, and I wrote this tune called Hello Spring right around here. Hello Spring, I was sure I'd never see your face again. This winter's held me close, like an orphan holds a friend. Ah, Spring, good to see your face again. And the birds are singing songs they learned in Mexico, telling tales of southern winds they rode that brought them home. And there'll be no tomorrow quite like today. Besides, I'm tired of giving up anyway. Ah, come on, girl. How about we give this big old messed up world a whirl? I promise there'll be flowers, and we'll wake the day for hours and hours. Ah, come on, girl. How about we give this world a whirl? And the birds are singing songs they learned in Mexico, telling tales of humpback whales in the archipelago. And there'll be no tomorrow quite like today. Besides, I'm tired of giving up anyway. And the birds are singing songs they learned in Mexico, telling stories of southern winds they rode that brought them home. And there'll be no tomorrow quite like today. Besides, I'm tired of giving up anyway. There'll be no tomorrow quite like today. Besides, I'm tired of giving up anyway.
Ed Willett, man. I know the tent is really amazing, and it's such a wonderful place to see a show. But to have Ed Willett singing songs from beside a stream, that is not bad. So, despite the challenges we face, there's that old phrase: "Let's get the band back together." And thanks to technology and some help from Severin and Severin's son, we are going to close the show tonight with the 3 members of the Blue Canvas Orchestra all playing together at one time, just like we love it. Take it away, fellers. Well, there you go, folks. A little bit of the Blue Canvas Orchestra all together. Lovely to hear them. Just puts me in mind of the tent. We sure thank you for joining us for these. I guess this is Tiny Tent Show episode number 2, depending on how you're counting. We are learning as we go here. We appreciate your tuning in, as it were. And it's just good to reconnect with folks, even if it is at the moment via screens and wires. You can still feel the soul coming through. A big thank you to our 2 Tiny Tent Show sponsors, Jim and Joy Perry, as I said, no relation. Not sure they'd claim me if we were. And also the Brownstone Pharmacy right there in downtown Washburn. We're so grateful and fortunate to have people step up and sponsor this show. There are fundraising links in the comments. There's also, as I've always said, the best place to go is www.bigtop.org. You can find more info there about upcoming shows, current shows, tent show radio, where the tent is pitched, when it's pitched. And I would just close by saying thanks again. We look forward to putting together another show like this for you. And, well, like we say where I'm from, we don't ever say goodbye. We just say, well, I suppose. See you later.